Here's what nobody tells you about healing. There comes a point when healing can become another waiting room. You've done the work, the therapy, the books, the courses, all the shadow work, the deep dives into why you are the way you are, but you're still waiting for one more breakthrough before you give yourself permission to fully step into your life. This is your reminder. You don't need more power. You don't need to keep getting fixed. You need to remember who you are. There is a beautiful teaching attributed to Hanuman, one of the most beloved figures in Hindu tradition. Hanuman, he is known for his extraordinary strength, courage, and unwavering devotion to Ram. Ram, who is an incarnation of God Vishnu and a hero of the epic known as Ramayana. So Ram, he asked Hanuman, "How do you see me?" And Hanuman, there's different versions of this, and well, there's two. I've seen two, and I'm going to go over. It's just one sentence, I think, that's added or taken away, but I'll go over the one that I like. But Hanuman, what he does is he replies, he answers. He goes, "When I identify with the body, I am your servant. When I know myself as soul, I am part of you. And when I know the deepest truth of who I am, you and I are one." The first time I truly heard these words, they touched my soul. I mean, there's so much beauty in that level of devotion. That's how we love our children. It's how we love our family, our parents. But Hanuman, he possesses extraordinary strength, but his strength is never about glorifying himself. He doesn't say, "Look at how powerful I am." His power belongs to his devotion. His strength has purpose. It is placed in service to Ram, the one that he loves. There's also this beloved image that I love of Hanuman, and it's him opening his chest, and he's revealing Ram and Ram's wife Sita that are living within his heart. It's just such a beautiful photo. So Sita has been taken from Ram, and Hanuman used his extraordinary strength to help find and rescue her. But if you just contemplate on that image for a moment of Hanuman opening his chest and living in his heart was Ram and Sita. Ram doesn't merely stand in front of Hanuman. Ram lives inside Hanuman. Hanuman's heart is not occupied by the need to prove who he is. It's occupied by the one he loves. I understand why this is touching me so deeply now. I definitely been drawn to Hanuman lately in the past year. My spiritual journey has moved through different seasons, and each one has revealed something I needed at that time. Many years ago, I became deeply drawn to Kali, the Hindu goddess associated with time, transformation, and the destruction of illusion and ego. Kali is often depicted in a fierce and even frightening form, but I never experienced her as evil or as something to fear. What I saw was transformation. I saw destruction of illusion. I saw a sacred force willing to tear down everything false so that something true could rise from it. At that time of my life, that was exactly what I needed. I had pain to release. I had shadows to face. I carried deep feelings of not being enough and not being worthy. Somewhere inside me, I believed I needed to walk through the fire and survive it before I could call myself strong, before I could believe I am worthy. I believed I had to earn my worthiness through struggle. So I welcomed the destruction. I welcomed the breaking. Even when I knew it hurt, I knew I was being transformed. That period of my life was my chrysalis years. So from the outside, a chrysalis appears still, but inside, the entire identity is dissolving. A caterpillar does not become a butterfly by improving its body it already has. Its old structures have to break down so that an entirely new form can emerge. That is what my Kali years were for me. I had beliefs about myself that could not come with me. I had wounds I could no longer avoid. I had identities that I had outgrown. I had to release the woman who believed that she was not enough before I could step into the woman that I was becoming. That season for me was necessary. I do not regret it, and I definitely honor the woman who walked through it. Kali, she helped me face what I could no longer outrun. She taught me how to let the false self die. But I am no longer in that season of breaking apart. I am right now currently in my stepping in season. There comes a point when continuing to identify with the chrysalis becomes another way of refusing your wings. I no longer need another fire to prove to myself that I could survive it. And if you're still in your Kali season, I want you to hear me. The fire, it may be transforming you, but it is not meant to become your permanent home. And if you have already survived it, stop returning to the fire just to prove that you can. I do not need to keep breaking myself apart simply because breaking me once transformed me. I have done the work of releasing. Now I am learning the power of devotion. That is why Hanuman is finding me now. There is another part of Hanuman's story that moves me very deeply. So when Hanuman was young, his awareness of his extraordinary abilities was obscured. His power did not leave him. He forgot it. So later, when he was called to make an impossible leap across the ocean to find Sita, Jambuvan, a wise elder and trusted companion, reminded Hanuman of who he was. And Hanuman, he did not need someone to give him more power. He only needed someone to remind him of the power that is already within him. And then once he remembered his power, he leaped. He did not leap to impress anybody. He did not leap to prove that he was better than anyone else. He leaped in devotion. He leaped across that ocean in service. He remembered his power, and he remembered what his power was for. That distinction changes everything. Power that is guided by the ego, it asks, how can I prove myself? And power that is guided by devotion asks, how can I serve what I love? For years, I thought I needed to become more healed, more accomplished, more knowledgeable, more disciplined, more successful. I kept believing the next book, the next course, the next spiritual practice, or the next version of me would finally make me ready. But I did not need more power. I actually needed to remember who I am. So let me ask you directly, have you forgotten about your own strengths? How many things have you already survived? How many times have you rebuilt your life? How much wisdom have you earned through experiences you once thought would break you? I am not powerless. I had just simply forgotten. Healing is not always about becoming someone new. Sometimes healing is releasing everything that made you forget who you already were. So Kali helped me to release all of that. And Hanuman helped me remember. And now I am stepping in. I have noticed something changing in the way I move through my everyday life. I am learning to live more through my heart. Not only when I pray and not only when I meditate or read something spiritual or have like this awakening breakthrough. I mean, in the ordinary moments. I am becoming more intentional about how I see, how I listen, how I speak, how I feel, and how I respond. It's about how I move through the world. Before I speak, I try to feel where my words are coming from. Before I react, I try to listen beneath my immediate emotion. When I look at another person, I try to see beyond the identity, the disagreement, and the behavior. I try to recognize the human heart that is in front of me. I don't always succeed. I am still human, and I don't always recognize it before I react. Sometimes I catch myself in the moment. Sometimes I see it afterwards. I look back at something I said and the way I responded or the energy I brought into a situation. And sometimes I have to check myself. I have to say, that was not the woman I want to be. Not from shame, and it's not to punish myself, but it's because I know I am capable of moving through the world with greater love, awareness, and intention. Living through my heart does not mean I never react from fear, frustration, or ego. It means that I'm willing to see myself honestly when I do. It means taking responsibility. It means repairing what I can. It means returning to love. Sometimes in the middle of an ordinary moment, I ask myself, what would Jesus do? And I don't ask because I believe I could imitate Jesus perfectly, because that's not the case. I ask because that question interrupts me. It creates space between my reaction and my response. It reminds me to step outside my hurt, my defensiveness, and my need to be right. What would Jesus see in this person that I am not seeing? How would he listen? How would he speak? Would he condemn them or try to understand what pain might be moving through them? Would he protect his ego or would he remain aligned with love? For me, asking what would Jesus do has become another way of me asking, what would love do through me right now? And even when I have already reacted, I could still ask the question, what would Jesus do now? Would he hide behind pride? Or would he tell the truth, take responsibility, repair what he could, and return to love? I cannot always change the moment that has already passed, but I can change what moves through me next. The more intentional I begin from my heart, the easier that becomes. I don't have to control every word and behavior individually. I change the place inside me from which words and behaviors arise. When I begin in love, I listen differently. I speak differently. I interpret people differently. I respond differently. But devotion, it's not perfection. It is a direction. It is the direction in which I continually turn my heart. Every time I catch myself, I choose again. I turn my heart back towards God. And the more intentional I live this way, the more personal I notice my relationship with God becomes. God is no longer an idea I contemplate. God is becoming a presence I practice recognizing in the way I treat people, in the way I speak to myself, in the way I respond to life when it doesn't go the way I expected, in the way I create, in the way I love, in the way I begin again. The more I love God, the more I fall in love with myself. There was a time when saying that would have felt egotistical to me. It doesn't anymore. I mean that the closer I feel to God, the more difficult it becomes to reject something God created, including me. The more I love God, the more I begin to see myself through the eyes of love. I stop looking at myself as a problem that must constantly be fixed. I stop arguing about whether I deserve to be here. Ego says, I must prove that I am worthy. And devotion, it says, my worth was never something I had to prove. I spent years trying to heal because I believed I needed to become worthy. Now I understand healing was never supposed to earn my worth. It was supposed to help me remember it. And I don't want spirituality to be something I perform. I want it to become the way I live. I want it in my eyes when I look at another person. I want it in my ears when someone needs to be heard. I want it in my words before I speak. I want it in my body when I enter a room. I want it in the choices no one else sees. I want God to live not only in what I believe, but in how I move through my day. That is what devotion means to me. It is not becoming smaller. It is releasing the exhausting need to prove that I am important. It is not surrendering my strength. It is giving my strength sacred direction. There was a time when transformation meant breaking apart. Kali met me in that season. She helped me confront my shadows and release the identities that were no longer true. Kali wasn't destroying me. She was clearing the temple. Hanuman is teaching me what belongs inside it, and that's devotion. Kali taught me how to let the false self die, and Hanuman is teaching me how to let the heart live. And Jesus is showing me how to return to love. And God is teaching me that the closer I come to Him, the more completely I can love what He created, including myself. I do not need more power. I need to remember who I am. I am not the source. I was never supposed to be. I am the vessel. And if you have spent years healing, searching, studying, and waiting to become ready, I want to leave you with this. You are not powerless. You may have forgotten you do not need another fire to prove that you could survive. And you do not need another course or another achievement or another person's permission to step into your life. Honor your chrysalis. Honor everything it took to become who you are. But do not remain inside after your wings have formed. Stop waiting for the fire to prove that you are strong. Decide right now what you're devoted to and step in. Thank you for joining me. I hope you like this. If you love it, give me a thumbs up. If you want more of this content, subscribe. Thank you.